Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 50 of Parenting Autism. We are your hosts, Chris and Sandy Coulter.
Hello.
Hello. And we haven't been here for a little while because we have been busy bees, and a couple of the weeks we were away traveling. When I asked you what episode number this was, you said it was number 50, and I said, oh, well, I just visited state number 50, being Colorado, and now I have visited all the United States.
Yes, there should be an award for that or something. I think
there should be something like, ta-da. But anyway, so we went to Colorado. It was amazing. And for all you listeners out in Colorado, love your state. It was gorgeous, and we had a wonderful time. We did not stay in the city much at all. In fact, we just flew into Denver and drove right out and then drove back in at the very end after being out in the mountains, and we were in the southern part too. So we'll talk about some of that today. We have so much to talk about. So much has happened that we're not sure if this is going to be like part one and then we have to do another one for part two. But we'll do our best to just share what's been going on in our world and bring people up to speed how it's going at the Coulter Hotel.
Yeah.
Sound good to you? Mm-hmm. Where would you like to start?
Where would I like to start?
Where
oh, my goodness.
Like
you put me on the spot.
I'm just making sure you're awake over there.
I am awake over here. Well, first, I want to just say that we are happy to be a commercial-free podcast. So we don't have advertisements for people to listen to while we're doing this. So I think that's a big plus because I'm a listener of other podcasts, you know. So when they gets interrupted, like in the beginning, middle, or the end, I'm like, oh man, it's just like throws me off. You know what I mean?
I do, and I understand why people do it because they want to make money from this, you know. And I get it because it's time being invested. But for us, we just do it because it's a calling on our lives, and we really just want to be able to share our journey. So whatever costs we incur, we just know that we'll be blessed 10 times over for investing in this because we are blessed. Every time somebody reaches back out to us and says, I just came across your podcast. Like we got a note from Mandy and she's like, I found your podcast and it's like therapy for me. That makes me so happy. Like that's how I get paid right there.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'd gotten another note from Mary and her husband, and I really needed that because she said she felt compelled to reach out to me, and I'm so glad that God laid that on her heart because her son is the same age as Bryce. And since we've done our last podcast, Bryce had a birthday and he has turned 7, so we'll talk about that too. But, you know, she's right where we are, where we're having that struggle with ABA and getting the services that fit Bryce right, and with the behaviors, like the self-injurious behaviors and how to work with that. I mean, she was like spot on where I am. And so it was like, it's like she said, sometimes we feel like we're on our own autism island. And that's what I feel like sometimes. I felt like she just joined my island. So it was really good. I'm not alone. So
I also want to shout out to Lynn's 2014 for the review that they posted on iTunes. So
yeah, we got that review. And actually we saw that come across our email while we were out on vacation.
Yeah.
And you know,
just gave us a boost.
It does. It gives us a boost anytime we get a review like that or someone reaches out to us. And then the reviews help other people find us. You know, we don't sit here and beg for them every time, but it's always nice when we get them. Yeah. It's just encouragement. It's like positive feedback.
I think when we first started the podcast, we're like, please leave us a review. But it really doesn't. I mean, it does matter to us, and we really appreciate it when we do get them. But you know, we just enjoy this so much. We're not trying, I don't know, to promote ourselves, but it's just being promoted all by itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know how to say that, but
I know what you're saying. Like, we don't have to market it hard. Like, I don't even share when I have episodes on social media. If people find us, that's wonderful. The only reason, or the primary reason we want people to find us is we want the people who need to hear us and hear these stories and know our journey that's going to help them. we want them to be able to find us.
Right, exactly.
That's the main thing.
And the reviews help other people find us. So
yeah.
Don't keep it to yourself, people. I'm just kidding.
No,
but and the other thing is I would say at least once a week we get somebody reaching out to us to be a guest on our podcast. And normally they are promoting something that they're selling or a book that they wrote. And, we want to keep our podcast us. And we really only want to talk about the things that we've used and have worked with Bryce, So, we love the inquiries that we want guests, they want to come on our show, but really, we
just have a different platform.
We just have a different platform.
And so what I've done is I have other podcasts that I listen to in the autism realm that have guests.
Yeah.
Like their platform is to feature different parents or different professionals, someone that's promoting something. And so I just refer them over there, which is great. And they appreciate that. But if we don't get right back to you, or if we politely decline because that's just not
our format,
what we're doing, then know that we still appreciate the love and that you found us, and hope you keep listening and tell others. That's just not what we've been called to do. That's all.
Exactly.
And that could always change, but for now, it's good.
For now is for now.
For now is for now. So those are just like some little things we chat about here and that we were going to share. But and I want to say also for those who continue to reach out to me, because I have connected with several parents and I've given them my cell phone number, or they will message me through Facebook. I don't have a problem with that if I feel led, like I can really help them. And it's nice for me to find those friends. And when they come back to me now, if there were 100 people, that would be a different story. But no, there's those, there are a few that I just really feel touched. Like, yes, I connect with them and I know that I can help them in some way. I just love that. So I just want to, for those who listen and you have reached out to me and we've got these little chats going on, and it may be like months I don't hear from them, but then they have a bad day or they got something new. I love it when you reach out to me because, again, I reach out to other people when I'm in need. So I like being able to pay that back.
Yeah.
It's like paying it forward. You always hear about that. That's what I feel like this journey is about.
Cool.
So, rounding out to the trip, I guess should we focus there first, or we should focus on Bryce's birthday? I guess that kind of ties into the end of the trip. So, so the trip really was wonderful. And I want to just say that this was one of the best vacations that we've had in a long time. And it's probably the best one we've had with Bryce overall, because he is getting older. We're able to reason with him more. We're figuring out ways to help him get out of a funk if he hits one. But we felt like we could be ourselves like it used to be, just a little bit more. And when we say that, like I was thinking it and then you actually verbalized it, but we're photographers and one of our biggest passions is doing nature photography. So when we picked out this trip, a lot of it was about where can we go to take beautiful pictures. And we had already talked and said, okay, well, if Bryce isn't up for it, we'll just take turns. You can go and do your thing and I'll stay with him and then I'll go do my thing. We had low expectations. So that way we would have very few disappointments. But when we got there, ironically enough, Bryce was so happy with our van rental that we had that he would play with the doors and all the electronics on the van. And we were both, I stayed close to him, but we were able to both do photography and take the pictures that we wanted without really feeling rushed, and if you needed a little bit more time, it was no problem. At least I got to do my thing. And then I would just hang with Bryce and you could go do your thing. And we were able to stop. And then as the trip went on, we were gone 13 days, so it was quite the journey. But Bryce started to take interest, and he wanted to use our cameras. Yeah. So I started letting him use my camera. And, of course, why wouldn't he be interested? There's buttons. I think the thing that really got his interest was we were trying to do a family portrait for our wall, because the last one is from 5 years ago. It was when Bryce was 2. It was before he was diagnosed, and we really have not been able to get a wall-worthy photograph of the three of us. So we're like, okay, let's try it on this trip. And we took clothes and we'd change his little shirt out every time we'd see a spot. And he was a trooper about it. But, it's nobody's looking at him to get him to look at the camera because we used a timer and a tripod.
Yeah.
And, I'll say Blippi. And if any of you don't know who Blippi is, Bryce loves him. He's on YouTube, and we'll give him a big plug because we love Blippi, and he promotes good things with the
clean,
kids. We
it's
love
fun.
him.
He's great.
Yep. So if we, instead of cheese, we say Blippi, that gets a big smile out of Bryce. People probably thought we were crazy. But so anyway, he saw the timer, and it's like a 10-second timer, and there's a flashing light that he knew to look at. And then when it stayed steady, then the flash would go off. So all of that was very fascinating for Bryce. So then he wanted to be able to do the timer, and then we were showing him settings, and then he really did start taking pictures, and he got interested in it. And so now that's his request for Christmas, and
Did
we're
you
going to feed
post
it.
a picture on Facebook of him taking a picture from the van?
I posted a picture of him
Taking a picture?
taking a picture,
Yeah.
but I'm going to post some of his pictures now that I have them because I had to get home to get them off the camera. So I have a few that I kept. One is the inside of the microwave, which I think is adorable because he loved the microwaves in the hotel. I love looking at through Bryce's the lens of Bryce.
Yeah, that's great.
So I've got some cute ones that I'm like, okay, I did not take that. That would be Bryce's picture, and I'm going to share some of those. So it was super cute, and it was fun. And so we have our photography business that we do for families, but we're also going to go back to nature and expand that and have gifts and stuff like that that are available. But we call them autographs. So Bryce knows that you and I will leave him sometimes to go take pictures, to go do autographs. So when he was taking a picture of you, he goes, I'm doing autographs.
Yeah.
And that was so special for us because it's like autographs used to be my baby before Bryce was born. And then Bryce became my baby, but now my baby loves my other baby. It's like so cool for me. So, we really had a fun time with that and seeing Bryce get engaged because I will tell you, getting him out in nature and getting him off of electronics, getting him, this was a big adjustment for him because he had no daddy school. He had no therapies. We didn't have a routine, so to speak,
Right.
But he handled it well, I think, while we were there. Definitely coming back was a heck of a transition, which we can talk about that later. But while we were there, I think there was enough routine. Like he knew, obviously, we'd wake up and there would be breakfast, which is a typical routine. Bryce loves fitness centers. He loves the electronics and the machines. Oh, here he comes. Hold on a moment. Come on in, bub. What's up?
Hey, I need to make pizza.
Oh, you're hungry?
I'm hungry.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to take a break and be right back. Okay, we're back. So I believe I was talking about fitness centers and how that was a little bit of routine. When we stayed in, 8 or 9 different hotels. We moved around quite a bit. So we never knew what was going to be at the next hotel. And we stayed in some pretty remote cities. So, or little towns, you would even call them. And so some of them did not have elevators. So Bryce would be disappointed that there wasn't an elevator. But if they didn't have an elevator, they normally had either a refrigerator or a microwave in the room. So it was like a good trade-off. If they had a fitness center, he was thrilled, and that really helped. I actually went on the 2-week vacation, and I lost 1 pound because I had to go in the fitness center with Bryce when we arrived, and then the next morning. That was kind of part of our routine. And we did a lot of moving. We did a lot of, you found places for us to hike that were family-friendly, specifically Bryce-friendly. And then the mountain air out there was very thin for us. How did it affect you?
Well, the air was very thin, so I had trouble. Like if you went up a flight of stairs, you'd be out of breath, and I had trouble sleeping. I just felt like I couldn't get enough air while I was sleeping, so a lot of times I didn't sleep. So for me, it was kind of a lot of a pretty much different experience than what you had. And we met some people along the way in Colorado. One lady happened to be another photographer, so we talked to her for a while, and she moved to Colorado from somewhere else.
I want to say Missouri.
Missouri. I said, well, how long did it take you to get used to the thin air, because you're living at 7,000 feet or whatever above sea level. And she said it took her about 6 months to stop being out of breath when she went upstairs or whatever.
Yeah, and because we did move around a lot, some of the towns or cities we were in were at a higher elevation.
That's what I'm saying.
Versus some of the others, and you could feel the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like your sleeping really was tied to where we were on the elevation. Because when we went to the southern part and we weren't way up in the mountains, that was your best night's sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe my only night.
Maybe it might have been your only night of really solid
No,
sleep.
it was okay.
But your spirits were good, and God gave you energy, and I would say that was like the one downside. Because otherwise, we had like gorgeous weather.
Yeah, the weather was great.
It was. I will say, when we first got there, we had to change up our trip a little bit because originally we were going to go to Estes Park, and I wanted to see the elk and do Rocky Mountain National Park, but they had the fires and there was ash on cars, according to the lady at the hotel that we called. So we're like, okay, we won't go there. So we switched it up and we just went down south first and then came back up to where we were going to primarily stay. And it was hot. I mean, it was hot, 90 degrees. And we went to the sand dunes, and it was like our first morning there because we flew in.
Yeah, so out of Denver, we went straight south.
We went through Colorado
Since
Springs.
Estes was canceled, that was to the north, we decided to go straight south.
Yeah, and so my point would be I was a little cranky that morning, honestly, because I did not go there for 90-degree weather and sand. I have that here where I live.
We live in it.
So I'm like, this is not what I came for, and I want to see fall colors, and I want mountain cooler weather.
Yeah, so the interesting part about like Colorado Springs area, because that's kind of where we were, a little bit south of that, is that the landscape is more brown, treeless.
Red rocks.
Some red rocks.
Right, because we went to the Garden of the Gods, which was beautiful.
But that was really the only place we saw red rocks.
Well, yeah.
And the rest of it was brown
mountains.
Shrubs, flat.
Like we were saying, it
Pretty
looked
much
like,
flat.
it reminded me of Arizona, New Mexico, because I know it's on that border, but it
like
did
New
remind me
Mexico.
of that a lot. So I'm like looking for mountains. I'm looking for my golden aspens, which was what was on my bucket list. So then when we started heading north after the sand dunes, and honestly, that sand was hot. Bryce was not feeling it. I wasn't going to force him to do it. It's like, let's get our pin for the national park strap we have.
Yeah.
Let's take a couple pictures and let's not push it. Let's go for what we really came here for.
Yeah.
It
would have been a very long hike up a sand dune mountain to get any kind of decent pictures because all the people were on our side of the dune. So you really couldn't get a great shot of the dune without a lot of people in it. And like you said, it was hot.
Yeah.
It was sandy. It's like, well, okay, we'll pass.
If it was 20 degrees cooler, I would have pushed it. But we weren't. Let's go for it. So then when we started driving north, we took back roads intentionally so that we could maybe stumble upon more beauty. And boy, did we, and then once I started seeing the color, then we came into the national parks or the forest, I should say. We go and do these national forests, and then the color just started coming to life. And my happy meter ticked way up. So yeah, it was really, really amazing, beautiful. We were able to get, I'm looking at our pictures now. Yesterday was the first day I got to really sit down and start to look through them. I'm like, man, we got some amazing pictures, and it was beautiful. Now we're picking things to display in our home, and that makes us happy. I mean, everybody's got their things that bring them joy. Photography, nature, fall specifically. We love the autumn colors, and we don't get to experience that in Florida, like other places. So yeah, it was really
green,
great.
Pretty much all year here. Green or some trees turn brown. So.
Yeah, we got palm trees and they're beautiful, but it's nice to have the change of season. Yeah, and to go visit them.
And Bryce was a real trooper because, we were hotel hopping, city hopping, It
was a lot of transitions for him.
We were constantly on the move, and, more oftentimes than not, he was just in the van looking out the window at everything. Sometimes he would play his iPad, but I would say maybe the majority of the time he was just looking around.
He was, and he would even like us to put the window down sometimes, and he would, like a dog would enjoy putting their head out, and feeling that wind.
Yeah.
He did. He would just, and then he noticed the trees. As the trip progressed, his interest progressed. Like he noticed more things.
He started noticing what we were seeing.
Yeah. And when we got back and we were driving home, I said, can you tell me like your 5 things that you really loved about Colorado? And the first thing he said was the mountains. And that he said hiking. I think he even said hiking the mountain. And that made our hearts really happy because the next answers were, of course, the van and
hotel,
the fitness center. Yeah. But he did put mountains first, which was great. And I think what was really fresh on that was toward the very end, I think it might have been our last day before we went back to the city, you had found a spot for us to go that we could drive the van up this windy mountain. And it was the first time we really got to see snow caps.
Oh, yeah.
And the fall color. So that was kind of cool. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, we're getting closer to the snow. I mean, as we kept going up.
Yeah.
And when we were able to park the car up there, and I think at that point we were over 12,000 feet elevation. But it wasn't that far. And we could go up this little trail, and we're like, okay, we're within walking distance that Bryce could touch snow now, which is, again, a big deal for a kid born in Florida.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's do it. And I think what's so funny is I made a note on here that Bryce got stuck a few times on something, and trying to find that motivation to get him to what we wanted him to do is always tricky, and we never know what it's going to be. This particular time, he did not want to go up that last stretch at all. And he's like, I'm done. I'm calling it. And it's like, oh, how are we going to get, he's so close. How are we going to do this? And you had a boo-boo of
I fell on the trail.
Right? Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry,
I fell
babe.
on the trail.
He did. Chris fell on the way up the trail. And you got it, you hurt your hand a little bit. So you had a little boo-boo.
Yep.
And so you said to Bryce, if you go up there to the snow, I'll show you my boo-boo. The kid couldn't stop. There he goes, like full speed ahead, because he's so obsessed with seeing people's boo-boos right now. So that worked. We're like, okay, that did it. So we got up there, and he was a little hesitant at first, and then we're like, it's cold, it's okay. And then he touched it, and then he wanted to eat it. We're like, okay. So he ate fresh, right? There's worse things in life. Yeah. So he got to eat the snow. He crunched it with his boot. You made him a snowball so that he could throw one.
Yeah.
It was just a really cool, special moment.
And then, so on the way back, he tripped and fell.
Would you not believe that? I mean, he did, and your injuries were on the same hand at the same location and the same size little boo-boo. Oh, my gosh. So I was behind you guys. I saw him go down, then I hear Band-Aid, Band-Aid, echoing through the mountains. Band-Aid, Band-Aid, Band-Aid. Because, we bought, this is no exaggeration, when we got there, something came up that triggered a Band-Aid. Chris went into Walmart. You bought 5 boxes. I'm like, we're set for the trip.
It was one big box of 100 Band-Aids.
I know, but there were 5 boxes in that big box of all different sizes and assortments. Yes. So we were set for Band-Aids, and we've learned this in Cub Scouts, always be prepared.
Yeah.
So we had the Band-Aids. We didn't take them up the mountain, but once we got down to the van, we were able to put the ointment and put the Band-Aids, and we got yours on, and then we got Bryce's on. And
it was
a good experience.
It could have been a bigger emergency, but because I had already fallen, and I told him, I said, look, I have a boo-boo, and it's not bleeding, and I told him, I said, the pain is going to go away in a few minutes.
You did.
Because that's what happened to me. And so he was really listening to me. And I think by the time we got to the van, the pain was going away. And he even said something.
He did say it. He said the pain went away like Daddy, like you slept, Daddy, like yours. So he was really listening.
We were able
to
really, bring that down.
I appreciate you falling first.
I know. Taking one for the team.
You took one for the team unintentionally. But it really did make a difference for Bryce because right now, after all the boo-boos and the infection that he had, he's so hypersensitive to any type of injury. So, yeah, so that was really cool. I think another highlight from the trip, two other big highlights, one planned and one unplanned. The one we did plan was we purchased tickets to go on a train ride, like a real steam engine locomotive. And Bryce did that when he was 3. We did Thomas the Train up in Indiana. And I remember him being so scared of the train that we had a hard time getting him on. So we haven't even entertained doing Polar Express yet because, we know that he's got some hypersensitivities there. But he was scared when we got there to get near the steam engine. But we kind of anticipated that would happen. So we purchased tickets on the caboose, on the very last car, to keep him further away from the steam engine. And the reason why he seems to be so apprehensive about that has to do with the fact of the unexpected noise. Because when it makes the loud sound.
The whistle.
There's a word for it. Yeah. So I think he wanted to be as far away as possible from that so that it wouldn't be so loud. And we took his headphones, but even with the headphones, he was like, no, thank you. But then after we did the ride, which he loved, he absolutely loved it. In fact, there was noise to it because you're on the track and you can hear that, but it was soothing to him, I guess, because it's like rhythm and
the train
fell
car
asleep.
Rocked back and forth.
So it kind of lulled him to sleep. After he did look and he was all, engaged.
Excited, yeah.
And he was taking pictures from the train window, which was really cute too. We let him do that. It was a really good experience and we were able to enjoy it. He was able to enjoy it. With COVID, they had 50% occupancy, so you weren't crowded in the cabin or the train car. It was a really, really good experience.
Yeah, it was relaxing, and there were some pictures that we got, but it wasn't
about that.
It wasn't about that. It was just being
it was really
on the
about
train.
Having this family experience, and we know that Bryce really is fascinated with trains, and we're trying to help him overcome the fear of big trains and live trains. And so when we got back, we said, can we take your picture with the steamy engine now? Is that okay? And he looked in the pictures, he's not smiling super big, but he did it. Yeah. And he went and stood on the step and held the it was a big deal for him. Yeah. So we didn't push it. We're like, okay, we snapped a couple. Thank you.
I have to mention that was a great experience. And it just popped into my head about the first hike that we went on. Okay. So we've taken this poor minivan places that it probably shouldn't have went. But
oh, Lord have mercy, we did.
Yeah. I mean, we wanted to, ideally, it would have been really great to have a Jeep, but I wanted the extra room in the van for our luggage and stuff. And I didn't want to be sorting through luggage trying to find something in the back of a Jeep. But also, Jeeps were a lot more expensive,
and I said that Bryce would enjoy the electronics of a van much more, and he did. Yes,
he liked the sliding doors, and
the trunk pressed open,
the automatic.
Oh yeah, he loved everything about it.
Lift gate or whatever.
He was very proud of that van, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So anyway, first hike.
If you're going to Colorado, Jeep would be preferable because a lot of the scenic stuff is off road. Like the roads are not paved, but they're kept pretty well. But if you're going on some of these, you need a 4x4, and our van was not a 4x4. But in any case, that's a side note. So our first hike was to, I think it was called Judd Creek Falls or something, and we got out of the van, and he's like, what are we doing? And we told him we were going on a hike. And I don't want to go on a hike. So we were probably 50 yards from the van, and it was like he was not going a step further. And we're like, how are we going to get him to, you know?
It was another time we were stuck.
He's not very interested in seeing the waterfall at the end like we were. So what are we going to do? And then all of a sudden, like one or two, it was a lady with a baby, right?
It was another lady, actually, and she was moving quickly.
Okay, it was a lady, and she just kind of walked right by us on the path going toward the falls.
Didn't even acknowledge us. Just
right,
there she goes.
Just went by us, and Bryce was like,
"Excuse me, excuse me."
Trying to get her attention, right?
Yes.
I don't even think he did get her attention.
He didn't.
She kept going.
He kept pursuing her because she didn't acknowledge him. That's it.
So, but she ended up getting way ahead of us, but it didn't matter. He was just, I don't know, something switched in his head.
At that point, he was
and
willing to travel.
And all of a sudden, we were going to go on a hike. So, I mean, the craziest things to motivate him, were unexpected. You know, we're sitting there 1 minute going, how are we going to get to the end of this trail?
Because, for him, a waterfall was not a reward for him.
Right.
You know, a reinforcer at all. In fact, we were a little hesitant how he would do with waterfalls because last year when we were in Tennessee, we went to one and he said it was too loud. Like he wouldn't even get near it. Mm-hmm. So we knew we were kind of gambling with this one, but we took the headphones and we kind of prepped him. You know, we've got these if it's loud, but he loved them.
Yeah.
Every one of them that we saw, he had no problem with the sound. And one of them, we went down low and it was loud and he was totally cool.
In there, yeah. It was like a little cavern with a waterfall coming through. Lower Box Canyon Falls.
I tell you, I did make a note about the things that it takes to get Bryce back on track or motivated to do what we want him to do. And there were a couple other things that I had noted in addition to the two we shared. And, you know, because this is the podcast and we keep it real, okay, we had a night that we were driving back to our hotel and you wanted to take more night pictures of the stars. So this is like night number 3. And so Bryce has kind of lost his interest in counting the stars at this point. And he was more interested in all the buttons on the van, which was fine. But we were trying to keep the lights low in the van so that you could accomplish what you wanted with getting night pictures. Yeah. So it was like a delicate balance, but we weren't supposed to be taking that long because, again, this is night number 3. We're going to get back. And it's late. Let's all just acknowledge that. When it's late and somebody's tired, you're already in vulnerable territory.
Yeah.
So it was definitely pressing Bryce's limitations. And I had told him, if you turn that off, it won't come back on because Daddy has the keys. And it had to do with the radio. Well, he turned it off anyway. So now we lost the radio. He wanted to start the engine, yada, yada, yada. So
I'm all done. I come back to the van. At this point,
finally, you came back, but Bryce wants to go back to his routine and he wants to keep playing because he lost time. It was not pretty. So getting Bryce from the driver's seat back to his car seat required you to physically pick him up as he's screaming and get him into the car. It was not pretty.
And we tried negotiating. We tried all
it wasn't happening. So we got him in his seat. At this point, I'm like, we just have to do this. We have got to get back to the hotel. So now we've got him strapped in. So he's safe. He's still crying. He's still wanting to do it. It's going. I mean, this is not good. And we're probably driving. And we got a good 20 to 25 minutes to get back to the hotel. And we're probably 5 to 10 minutes into this drive. And I think you were trying to negotiate with him at that point. I had to go to the bathroom so badly. I wasn't kidding. You know, so finally I'm like, listen, I have got to go potty. We have got to get back to this hotel. We cannot wait. Let's just push through and get this. So Bryce hears that and he's like, Mommy's got to go potty. And so Bryce has this game that he plays that he takes care of all his cats. It's the Tomcat game. And he has empathy for them when they have to go potty. Well, the empathy worked. And he's like, Daddy, go fast to the hotel. Mommy has to go potty. Go faster. Go faster. And Chris is like, well, I have speed limits. Go faster. Mommy's got to go. I'm like, if I only knew.
Right.
That's what he needed.
Yes.
But that's what it took. But I only cried it out because in truth, I needed to get back to the hotel.
Yeah, well, that totally changed his tune. He stopped crying. Did. We had a mission.
Yes.
And
then you said, when we get back to the hotel, you can go ahead and do the radio and you can do the buttons, but we got to get Mommy back to the hotel. And that was enough that we were able to get back there without, as you parents probably can relate, the repetitive request and the crying and the begging. And, it was tough. So thank you, God, that worked. But, again, we don't know what will help snap him out of whatever he's stuck on and get him. But we kind of found that was funny. But
we fulfilled our promise when we got back.
And it had to do really with his, he was concerned for me, but it has to do, he cares about his character. And you even said, it's just like Tomcat. Mommy has to go, just like Tomcat has to go. And, he got that. It's like, you give him something that he can relate to, he's with you. And then the last thing that I had noted, we were wondering how we were going to get him to come back to Florida without a problem, because
he liked it so
he
much.
Loved Colorado. And he would tell people, everybody that we would meet, he would say, Colorado's so much fun. That's my van. That's my gray van.
I'm in Colorado.
Canada's closed because we were supposed to go to Canada. Canada's closed. We're in Colorado. It's so much fun, you know. So it was really cute. He would tell anybody that he saw that he was so happy to be in Colorado.
We have to tell him about
how are we going to get him back to Florida? You said, do you remember what you told him to get him to come back?
We had to feed our fish.
That was it. That was it. That was genius, which I would not have thought of. And you're like, we have to go back to Florida because the fishies are hungry and we have to feed them.
Yeah.
So he was so focused on that I think we wanted to stop and visit my parents because it's on the way home to our house. And he's like, we can't stop and see Mama and Papa. We have to feed the fish.
Yeah.
So we called the fish to make sure that they were okay if we stopped for Mama and Papa and they were okay.
Yeah.
But it's like once you get his mind there, he's on board, but you never know what it's going to take.
Tell him
He even told the people on the plane we had to feed the fish.
Yes.
He was on focus.
Tell the garbage truck story.
Okay, so Bryce, again, we went into the real world with Bryce. And I just want to preface this by saying we have not been out in public with Bryce very much at all
during
since
COVID,
March.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking 6 months. And we did go to North Dakota, but we weren't around people very much. So we didn't see nearly as much interaction as we had this trip. So Bryce is very friendly. He will start with excuse me most of the time. And I will say half the people acknowledged him and half of them did not. And so we've got areas that we know we need to work on. But we were in this convenience store that had a Subway, and you were over there getting lunches for us, and I was over getting some snacks, and Bryce was with me. And so they had tables in there. So this guy was sitting and eating his breakfast. I hear Bryce say to him, that's my van with 4 doors and a small engine. And how many doors do you have?
Just comes up to the guy.
The guy, it's no introduction. He just explains his van and says, how many doors do you have? And the guy says, 2. What color is it? The guy says, green, silver. So Bryce pauses and he's says,
thinking,
is it a garbage truck? Because 2 doors and green. And the guy, defeated, he says, no, but it might as well be. Oh my gosh. I was dying inside. And Bryce doesn't know what to say to that. So he's just okay. It was so funny for us. It was
oh my goodness,
super cute. He was able to have a back and forth conversation. He made his assessment. And that was it. That is Bryce. We had so many cute little things like that with him. Yeah. And the ladies at the hotel, they would get a kick out of him because he'd come in and say, do you have a fitness center? Mm-hmm. And if they did, does it have, how many treadmills does it have?
Right.
Is there an elliptical machine? I mean, like he would drill them down.
Yeah.
If they didn't have one, he'd be like, why? Why not? Mm-hmm. Or if they didn't have an elevator, do you have an elevator? No. Why don't you have an elevator? Where's the elevator? Well, we wish we had an elevator, you know. But he would engage with people and like I said, watching people react to him, that's part of parenting autism. Like you have to give him a little bit of
leeway
and see how it goes. And I only step in if I feel like we need to step in. He I don't know why, but right now he likes to ask people if they are girls. Thankfully, everybody that he asked was a girl, but I don't know why he's doing that. I really don't. He's just trying to figure out the world. So the reaction to that sometimes was, yes, I am, or I hope I am. Hold on, here he is. Yes, babe.
Well, coins.
Oh, good. I'm proud of you.
Can you close our door, please?
Probably not.
Or not?
Okay.
Okay.
You want to close it?
Yeah, I'll close it.
Okay. So Bryce is playing his game, and we love that he comes and tells us how he's doing. And he knows we're doing the podcast right now. And so, you know, he's pretty cool about that.
So I want to talk about the airplanes. And Bryce was very fortunate to get two pilots that were, you know, the flight out and the flight back that were very accommodating for him. They let him actually sit in the captain's chair of the airplane, and Bryce was able to ask questions.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And so the co-pilots who were remaining with Bryce were both so great with him because they're the ones answering all his questions because the pilot gave a seat up, you know.
Yeah. So he was able to spend a few minutes in the cockpit, which was great. Normally, you know, before this, it was just, hello, you know, he would ask one question and then we would be done.
Yeah.
But now he was in there trying to have a conversation, which was great. And unbeknownst to us, we picked our seats when we bought the airline tickets. And there's probably only 2 or 3 places on each side of the airplane that do not have windows. And for whatever reason, we picked a seat that did not have a window.
The only one on the plane.
Yeah, and he really wanted to see the engine. So it worked out. I mean, he was able to look out like a quarter of a window from somebody else's chair. You know, he could see out barely, but he had a movie on the way out, right? Which kept him occupied.
Yes, that one actually
it had TV screens in the back of the seat.
So he got to watch shows on the way out, and that was great.
And then on the way back, we had a window.
But we didn't have a TV, so he looked out the window. So it worked out well.
It was good. So it was really good. I mean, our flight out, we had a little bit of an issue because the plane was broken. So we sat on the plane for about an hour at the gate before they deplaned us and had to get us another plane. And it was getting to the point where Bryce was asking, you know, when are we going to taxi to the runway? You know, when are we going to take off? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So they finally deplaned us and we got another plane. But he did great.
He handled that really well because getting him off of a plane, I wasn't sure how he would do with that. It could really confuse him. But we just told him they had to get us a different plane. He understood that something was broken. And we did not have to call ahead for TSA to give us any escorts. Security lines weren't that bad this time anyway. I know you hear that game. Do you want to pause?
Yeah, let's pause.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Bryce. He loves his iPad. He loves at 200% volume. And for the life of me, I don't understand why Apple does not put a volume limiter on the iPad.
They don't have kids.
It's got to be easy to do. Yeah, right. The founder probably does not have a kid on the spectrum.
I think they don't get it. Yeah. Or I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Or they're on the spectrum who designed it. And
who knows?
They like it, like Bryce does.
Maybe there is a way and I just don't know, but
anyway.
But I'm telling you.
If you have that answer, shoot it our way. We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I've Googled many times.
So just a couple more notes and then we'll wrap up this episode about the travel. I know we've made this sound like it was overall the most glorious trip and great, and it really was, but I want to be honest and keep it real on here for those parents who travel, and then I don't want them to be like, oh my God, they could do it and they had no problems at all, because we did have some problems.
Of course we did.
But probably like the biggest wall I feel like we hit was early on in the trip, and it was probably day 3 or 4 that we were in. I think it was day 4. And, again, we're out in the real world, and we had not been out in the real world. So this is the first time we took him into like a downtown with stores, with doors, with people, and we weren't prepared for it. Honestly, I think I don't want to say we got lazy with it, but we got comfortable. That would probably be the right word, because we hadn't encountered these issues before. So I'm talking about...
Thankfully, I think I've blocked this totally out of my mind.
That's good. I'm sorry to bring it back to you, so I'll share it with you and the audience. So we were in Crested Butte, and they have their little downtown, and it was quite crowded when we were there. And so we took him, I don't know, we were going in the store, and actually you were away from us when this was happening. Inside the store, they had doors that moved back and forth manually. So it wasn't electric doors we were dealing with, because we were in a small town. But Bryce loves doors. And if you've listened to any of our past episodes, we've referenced his obsession with doors often, because it's an issue. And we haven't had to deal with that issue because we haven't been in public places with doors. So he can't, I didn't even notice it, but he's not going to miss it. So he's taking the door as I'm trying to find us a Christmas ornament for our tree, which is our tradition. He's sliding the door back and forth and back and forth. And so one of the employees came over and was like, can you stop? Can you close the door? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see him doing that. So I go in, I get him. You come back. I'm like, it's a door. It's okay. We'll get him down. We get him down to that point. I get him down the stairs, and these people have their doors open for a reason, because they want customers to come in. Bryce wants to close every door on the street that is propped open, because he prefers doors be closed than open. And that is a past thing that we've dealt with. But again, we haven't had to deal with this. So now, he's over it. If he can't play with doors, he doesn't want to be there. He drops to the sidewalk, Now we're dealing with a child that's about to turn 7 in a few days. It's totally different than when you have a 2 or 3-year-old dropping to the ground. A 7-year-old is dropping, who looks perfectly normal to everybody else that is out in the real world. And it's like, I have to tune everybody else out that's around us. I just want to get him up off the sidewalk. How are we going to do that without making a big scene? Then when he gets up, he starts running, and I have to yell his name at full volume, Bryce, which I'm sure everybody looked. Again, I'm trying to not focus on them. I'm trying to focus on him, because he's ready to escape. And that's what he does now. I'll run away. He'll say, I need to run away. If he feels like he's upset about something, he needs to run away. We haven't had to deal with eloping because, again, we live in our bubble 90% of the time. So who knows where he's going to run to? He could run out in the street. He could run into people. I just know that he's running. So I scream his name, full volume. I don't like being there. And the good news is Bryce stops when we do that, because we don't have to do it often. And he did stop. But now I have to go run, catch him, drag him back, try to basically get him into the van and leave the scene.
Leave the scene of the crime.
Leave the scene of the crime and all the people. It was not fun for me. It made me sad.
That wasn't fun for you?
It was not. And I'm like, we're back in the real world.
Timer's off.
What timer?
Who set a timer? You?
I didn't.
I didn't give you a time.
It was in my head, but it went off now.
It was
You
in
had a
your
timer
head
in your head
off.
that we'd be done.
I think it's time to be done now.
I love
All
you,
right.
Bryce.
Well, we'll be done then.
Can we set one more timer, or do you want to sit with me to finish up? We're almost done. Can I give you a timer to set? Say 10 minutes and we'll be done, I promise.
Is there anything more to your thought there?
I'm about wrapping it up.
No, the whole, that scene.
Yes, that scene. Because how are we going to fix this?
Okay. How are we going to fix it?
So we're leaving. We go back. The hot bath is my remedy for therapy and everything. So I went back and I replayed the whole day and the whole scene. I'm like, what are we doing wrong? And you know what? We went without a plan. To me, it was like we went into battle without any weapons. Like no defense at all, and expecting everything to go perfectly, and it couldn't. And so we had to pull out ABA tools like the green choices. Is that okay if we talk about this, Bryce?
Yes.
Okay, so the green choice that I thought would work best for Bryce would be the playground, because he hadn't been to one in 6 months, except for the one time we went to North Dakota. And we were in a small town, so I felt like the playground would be safe. And so we told him if he made all green choices on the next day when we went out, that he would get the playground. And he did. He totally was into that. He knew that it wasn't all about him. He knew that when we stopped to take pictures, it would be okay. He would participate. There were other, I know. The day before, he kept saying, when are we going back to the hotel? And if we heard that once, we heard it 50 times at least.
Yeah.
Once we give you an answer, you know when we're going back. You can't ask for 4 hours when it's opened, because we would tell him they were cleaning the room for us. And once the room was clean, then we would go back. You can't ask us again because we already gave you that answer. And there were a couple times we called the hotel, pretend, and to check and see if the room was clean. And it wasn't. And it worked out really. And that next day, honestly, it was a beautiful day. He was on board with the green choices, and he got to play on the playground. Mm-hmm. And it was great. But you have to have your tools, and you can't forget them to take them with you.
Yeah.
And again, when you're not out in the real world, you forget that you need to do that. But with Bryce, it's necessary. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is. And we accept that. Thank God we have the tools. We just have to remember to use them and how to use them. So I just want to share that, because that's part of this parenting autism for real.
Yeah.
And after that, really, it turned around, and we were able to find different incentives if needed, and we didn't need them every day. You know what? One day he told me, I don't need a reward. I just want to make green choices. Oh my gosh, I love you. That's so awesome. And he did, because he just wanted to make us happy. And I love that he even wanted to do that. So I think, that's really our trip in a nutshell. And it was great. We were able to do so many things that we wanted to do and enjoy. I do think that we'll continue to plan trips that are out in nature and things like that. I'm sorry, did I see an eye roll? Was that because you're hungry and you want to just wrap this up? Or because of all these sounds that are going to show up on your podcast, Mr. Perfectionist? Let's call you out. It's okay. Bryce is slurping my water. This is real world. Chris is losing it over there.
Stop.
Okay.
What do you want to tell the people, Bryce?
Bryce, it's your turn. Let's wrap this up. Wait. Tell them what you liked about Colorado.
I like that mountains again.
You like those mountains again?
What else did you like?
Was there anything else special about Colorado that you liked?
And I climbed the mountain and go on trails.
That was fun.
And what do they say? Stay
on the
trail.
Stay on the trail.
And dangerous sign.
Right.
Yeah.
They did have danger signs, so you would know not to get off the trail.
What else did you like?
Anything else that you loved about Colorado?
You don't want to get off that trail.
Right.
You might fall. You might roll down the mountains into the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. You did a good job reading those signs. How did you like flying the airplane? Did you get to do that? Did you get to sit in the pilot seat?
Yes.
What did you learn?
I learned about that jets.
About the jets? Good. Is there anything else you want to share today?
Anything else you want to say about Colorado?
What did you like about our van? We told him you liked that minivan, didn't you? What color was it?
Gray.
Yeah. How many doors did it have?
4.
What kind of engine did it have?
It had a medium size.
A medium size engine? Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. Oh.
Yeah.
It's fun playing Mousetrap.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about your birthday. You know what? That will be the next episode. Because you got Mousetrap for your birthday, and we'll talk about all the ways we celebrated it in Colorado and Florida. Do you want us to sing happy birthday to you? Or we'll do that the next episode. Sound good? All right, let's wrap up.
We're going to wrap it
so
up.
So you can go get your pizza.
What do you want to say to the people?
The new cauliflower crust pizza.
Bye, people.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Episode
thanks
50.
for listening. Yep, episode 50's in the books. See ya.
Bye.